of our favorite transition drills with the box drill because you're utilizing different transportation for different situations. Within the box, the linebacker now needs to be able to navigate between the shuffle, between the crossover run, between opening the hips, right, and dropping on a 45, simulating coverage movement. We also have a nice downhill press where the linebacker now has to hit the brakes, dig cleats into the ground, and change direction, right? So easy setup. This is why I love sharing this drill, right? Is the easy setup. You're getting a fast way to get your guys moving and getting them to development and getting a lot of reps for the guys. As we know with different levels of football, right? Depending on where you're at in the year, you might need to be getting a lot of reps for a lot of guys. And this is why I love sharing these kinds of drills, with other coaches, just because I know I've been there, right? When you got a lot of guys that you're trying to get reps, it's nice to have some drills, right, where you can really set up fast and get some nice reps with high quality. See, with the drills that we're going to talk about is that guys will come in wildly, our linebackers, and their feet won't have planting and cleats in the ground when they go to explode. And now you don't have your legs underneath of you. So let's talk about how we train that so that it doesn't happen. So we're going to do shock lines. So as we see in this little diagram we have here, right, you're going to set up, right, you're going to take your linebackers and partner them up, have, right, whether it's the 30-yard line, 50, doesn't matter, pick a yard line, have the simulated blocker stand on the yard line and face this way, have him face the end zone, and have the linebacker then shade him. Okay. And we're now teaching from the shock point back. So this drill right here, we're teaching all the way up at the collision. So the linebacker is going to have his near foot up, like in the diagram in the previous slide. Okay. And on the whistle, we want two whistles. First whistle, he's going to take a short step, pick it up, and put it down with the near foot. And he's going to load that foot with weight so that he can feel his hips and his legs ready to transfer weight. Then on the second whistle, we're going to explode through the hips and through the hands and get proper hand placement. Okay. Right there, getting that contact. Okay. Okay. So then the second part of the drill, okay, is now we have to work the escape, because one of the biggest things that I share with our guys is we do not want wrestling matches. On the collision, we need to create separation through the collision and then teach our guys to then escape and disengage off the block with speed. So as we strike, as we get the near hand on the sternum and the far hand on the bicep, we explode and create separation and lock out. Then we are immediately throwing the blocker through our near hip and then stepping through past the blocker with speed and under control in a disciplined manner, not out of control. So explode and then disengage. Again, explode and then disengage. Okay. Then in the next iteration of the drill, once your guys have some degree of mastery of that, okay, we're now going to do depth destruction and do it from 5 yards of depth. What's so critical about this is that as coaches, we want to think about getting our guys from 5 yards of depth to perfectly on the fly get into the position that they were in the previous drill right before they explode into the block. So what I'm trying to say is that it is a skill in and of itself to go from 5 yards of depth and be in the proper body control and near foot placement right before contact. That is so critical, okay? Because there's so many different ways I could describe. I know I'm screen sharing, but if you guys can imagine with me, if their feet are even or if that near foot hasn't made contact with the ground yet, when they go to make that collision, right? The offensive lineman is going to have his legs with him, and he's going to be able to drive and pump through the contact point, and we don't have a chance. Even if you're physically superior as a linebacker, it's a bad habit, because as soon as that level of competition raises, you're not going to be able to compete with an elite offensive lineman or a good football team, right, without your feet being right before you explode through half the block. So here's a little clip just showing, right, different examples, right? This is like 2 yards out, right? So you can mess around. Once you master those first two drills that I described, you can change up the distance to be able to get different looks for the guys, right? Here's the medicine ball here. You can use shields. You can use a medicine ball, right? If you're in full pads, right? You can and I love doing this. You can simulate on full pads with no shield so that they can get the nice hand placement. But if we go here, there's a couple drills I can show you. Here's incorporating multiple different approaches, strikes, and then doing a shuffle alley press pursuit, right? Working the scrape and crossover run on the finish on the ball carrier, okay? But let me skip ahead here to the shot sled. I love these clips because it's really going to get to the details and the essence of what I'm passionate about sharing with you guys. So right here with the shot sled, you can use anything. You can use the field goal post with the pad. You can use a coach. You can hold a shield. This was a nice little neat thing we had with the shot sled, right? We're seeing that near foot step like we talked about, and that step is loaded with weight before the hands collide with the target. And then another thing I love about this clip, that's one of the most important points, it truly is we have to make sure with the linebacker that it is not a bench press with the pad, it is a collision. That is one of the biggest improvements that I can share with you guys, is that making sure that it's not grab and press. Make sure that the hands have velocity and are colliding through the block, if that makes sense. We want it to be a punch where the hands are making a collision noise with the pad, because that's how you're exploding and creating a collision, right? Because you know how it is. If you're a linebacker and you're dealing with a 285, 300-pound offensive lineman, the collision is what is going to stop the feet of the blocker, and that's what gives us a chance to escape. And here you see us working the near foot through on the escape.